For those who don't know AbbVie, we are a very old company. If you consider the time we were with Abbott devices, and then we got AbbVie spun out of Abbott in 2013 with one drug, Humira, and were able to consistently expand into different therapeutic areas with different innovative medicines, and have kind of built a formidable company. Depending on the day or time of the day, we are probably the fourth or the fifth largest pharmaceutical company in the world. And we have a innovation-driven, patient-focused approach in which we work with several of our internal programs and external partners in order to bring medications and drugs for our patients, right? So, how have we grown, right? So if you think about what our R&D budget was when we spun out of Abbott in 2013 and where we are right now, and this number is obviously even higher. We have a significant investment in external and internal R&D as we are moving our drug discovery and our drug development programs forward. So you can see we have over 150% increase in our budget just in the last 10 years. This is significant compared to any other pharmaceutical companies which are out there. I'm part of the external innovation organization. What do we have from external innovation? So we have search and evaluation, where I reside, and we support all five franchises. I'll go over to the next slide. We have our business development acquisition colleagues who do the transactions, contracting, negotiations. We have our global alliances, which is kind of managing our partnerships which we have in place across all therapeutic areas. And then we have this very unique approach called AbbVie Ventures, which is a venture capital arm. It's obviously a corporate venture arm in driving investments across all therapeutic areas, largely on pre-seed, seed, Series A, and Series B and C. If you are invested in pre-seed or Series A, and then across on platform technologies across all areas. So we have these kind of four areas with which we kind of operate in finding and evaluating deals. All right. So what do we look for, right? So we have our 5 key pillars. Immunology and oncology was AbbVie. When they spun out of Abbott, they had some neuroscience, but with the acquisition of Allergan Aesthetics, they were able to bring in more, kind of opportunities across migraine and kind of psychiatry indications, along with the neurodegenerative indications which they were looking at, and then eye care and aesthetics were the bolt-on acquisitions, which are the bolt-on franchises, which went on to the entire pipeline. So with this, we have immunology, oncology, neuroscience, eye care, and aesthetics. Kind of looking for assets across, the best-in-class medicines for immunology. Want to make sure that our growth for our potential assets is significant. The assets which you have heard of are, from an immunology perspective, are Skyrizi, Rinvoq, and obviously Humira is our best-selling asset for over 10 years, right? So those are the assets from an immunology perspective. Oncology, we are trying to build out a sustainable pipeline for solid tumors. We are in liquid. I'm trying to definitely have a more robust active pipeline in solid tumors. Neuroscience, as I indicated, we obviously are looking for additional opportunities in migraine, psychiatry, and neurodegeneration pathways. Eye care, we want to have a presence in eye care, front of the eye, ocular diseases, intraocular diseases, and obviously back of the eye diseases. In this space, we haven't changed our viewpoint since we became AbbVie. are going on in all firing on all cylinders in that perspective. In aesthetics, I'll talk a bit more about that. So aesthetics is kind of the area which I lead, and we'll talk more about that later on in the slide in the presentation. All right, so external innovation, right? So this is kind of an industry average, right? So this is where not just AbbVie, but what industry as a whole has been looking from partnerships. So you can see the trend over here on the left side where the external innovation pipeline has been growing, and with the COVID deals, which if you factor those in going forward, it's obviously going to be a much larger approach from an industry perspective. So the external sourcing is a very important component for all companies like AbbVie and large pharmaceutical, biopharmaceutical companies out there. So we obviously have to look for deals externally and source them source them externally. And then on the right, you can see over here is registration, right? I mean, these are the deals or the assets which have got approved. 60 over 60, I would say 64% were either in license or acquired from external sources, and only 36% of the deals which have been approved or assets which have been approved in the last from 2019 to 2021 have been kind of from an internal pipeline, and that is reflected in our overall focus as well from what we look as AbbVie, right? So as you can see, half of our deals or the programs which we work on are in discovery, and then kind of quarter of them are in preclinical, and then the rest quarter is either spread across with phase 1, 2, and 3. And as you can imagine, right, the deal sizes get a bit larger for phase 3, and from a discovery perspective, we obviously have a very high, kind of a very high number of deals which are coming in from discovery size. And obviously, we do about 10 deals a year across different flavors. Could be option, licensing, acquisitions, and then as I indicated, about 73% of the deals have been discovery or preclinical. Going into the funnel, this is what we like to call the funnel. It's a it's a very, very active group, and I have access to numbers for 22 and 23, and these are even larger than what we have seen so far. So we triage about 2,000 opportunities across all therapeutic areas, excluding aesthetics. Aesthetics are a different funnel. So this is not even including the aesthetics number, which is probably I would say 1/4 of what we see over here. 10% of them kind of go into confidential evaluation, i.e. sign a CDA. So if you have worked with AbbVie or if you have talked to people at AbbVie, we take utmost care of protecting us and the partner from any breach of confidentiality or anything which is anything which is sent to us confidentially. We take great care of confidential information which is sent to us, and thereby we are very selective in with whom we enter into a CDA with. We try to make sure that we enter CDAs with people who we want to make sure we have a data or a guidance of the data, which is what could lead to a potential lead. Second level, which we also are very very particular about, is the non-binding term sheet. As you can see over here, I mean, when you go from 2,000 to 50, we don't send out that many non-binding term sheets. Our non-binding term sheets go through a governance process. We want to make sure that every single area of the therapeutic area is aligned: commercial, preclinical, discovery, clinical areas, regulatory, operations. They all are aligned in sending out a non-binding term sheet to the partner. And then once we go to non-binding term sheet, we have contract negotiation and deal executions. Things fall apart. due to several reasons. But as you can see, over I'd say 40% of the non-binding term sheet get translated into contract negotiations, and 30% of non-binding term sheets eventually become a deal. So that is a pretty significant number once you get to a non-binding term sheet discussion. Once a non-binding term sheet is sent out, the likelihood of deal increases. And then kind of distribution in the therapeutic area, kind of, again, this is not including aesthetics. Aesthetics is a separate bucket we count in, but want to make sure that the company and the participants over here understand that we are very diverse in where we look for companies. We are trying to increase our startup presence for universities, academics, and others. From a company type in the middle of the screen, we are very biotech heavy in that perspective, but overall we are fairly diverse from where the deals come in from and across different therapeutic areas, as you can see over here. And then on the right side, the source of referral is target inbound. So we obviously have our outreach, but we also are very active in getting assets in from a target from external perspective. And then finally, kind of looking at what we do from an external innovation perspective. So we get all of these components in place when we are looking at the companies coming to us from, we get a discovery group involved, we get IP group involved, development and regulatory group, CMC, commercial med affairs, and external partners, kind of EU, China, and global affiliates are involved when we are talking about the deal. And this all kind of happens even before we send the non-binding term sheet out. So we are very clear about that perspective. And then some of the other areas where we look for full diligence, right? So this is what I showed before was before the non-binding term sheet comes in, and then when we are looking at the full diligence, every single function is activated. We run the process internally, and we make sure that from a diligence perspective, we have all of our experts presenting, reviewing the data, asking the questions, and presenting their findings to for the team and the senior management, and then move the process along. So kind of talking about where our view is from kind of AbbVie and by extension to Allergan Aesthetics, what we are looking for. Kind of, you may say, what is AbbVie looking for? Kind of, these are kind of some of the key high-level areas of consideration. We're looking for novel molecules and novel products, and then differentiated. So, first in class and best in class kind of therapeutic assets, which are aligned with our strategy in immunology, oncology, neuroscience, eye care, and aesthetics. Again, data is the key. We are very data-centric, science-heavy company. We want to make sure that we are looking at a mechanism of action which is identifiable against the targets which you have selected, and then it's reproducible in the data package which is submitted to the agency or to us from a therapeutic candidate or a surrogate molecule. Obviously, it has to have a manufacturability component to that. There are some drugs which you have seen, or some molecules you have seen, antibodies and as such, it's getting better, but manufacturing is a key hurdle, and we do consider that in our overview as well, because we don't want to be in a situation where we have any issues from a supply perspective if we were to take that molecule on and manufacture it internally. So we want to make sure that there are no supply chain or manufacturing hiccups which could interrupt the drug supply for our patients. And again, from a patent and differentiation story, we want to make sure that we have a solid position in that aspect. So that's kind of making sure we overall AbbVie perspective what we look at it. And I had mentioned kind of mentioned about ventures as well, right? So this is we are unique in a way that we have our strategic venture in-house venture group which looks at looks at specific companies to build out. And again, I would say, go over where the venture group is involved in. It is a strategically driven from an innovation perspective. So we build out relationship for future partnerships. It could be acquisition option agreement, or even a acquisition by some other company. But we are very heavily invested in building those relationships out. I mentioned at the outset, we are looking at seed or Series A opportunities, not really a B, C, or a C kind of a venture arm, looking at novel areas from a scientific perspective. And to add to that, we're also looking for platform events versus a single asset companies from a venture investment. So if you have a platform, that's something which would drive us more than just a single asset. We are active in our companies. When we look at the companies, we definitely are able to, we do take a board seat, and then we are also open to lead the investment along or as part of a syndicate. And then, we would provide our full AbbVie resources from a expertise perspective in commercial manufacturing and R&D to our venture partners. That's something which we have been told that is very helpful for our venture companies, portfolio companies to look at when they go in our part of our portfolio companies and kind of explore genomic resources or explore resources from a commercial side. And we help our venture companies out once they become part of us. And then based in Boston, Chicago, and South San Francisco, looking at primarily from North America and Europe, but we do also have a extensive view of going up in China and Asia Pacific and looking at that geography as well. This is recent when working on that as well. These are some of our companies which we have had investment. It's not an updated list, but some of them may be familiar to this group over here. And then I'll move to Allergan Aesthetics and talk about where we what we look from an external innovation perspective. This is, again, like I said, this is my area, Allergan Aesthetics, and the areas. If you think about the last pillar of what you're looking at, and there's a furthermore differentiation in that particular pillar. So obviously we make Botox that everybody knows, and if you're looking at the our areas are basically Botox to use and kind of improve the appearance of wrinkles, shape muscles, and improve skin quality. I'm just specifically talking about the aesthetic use of Botox, not talking about the therapeutic use of Botox, although we are very interested in the therapeutic use of Botox, which kind of is kind of shared with the neuroscience part of our franchise. And then we have dermal fillers, which are gel-like material, kind of enhancing the patient appearance by kind of smoothing the skin or lifting the skin and kind of adding volume to the skin. And then we have capital equipment, bait-driven body contouring, and also injectable-driven body contouring with Kybella for submental fat. And then we're looking at cool sculpting for cryolipolysis, and we recently made an acquisition of Soliton, which is for reduction in cellulite through shockwave technology. Plastics and regenerative medicine, we have breast reconstruction and breast augmentation, and we also have acellular dermal matrices for hernia repair. This kind of came onto as our lifestyle acquisitions. If you think about Allergan on its own, they had Botox, an acquisition for fillers, an acquisition for cool sculpting, and Soliton for the capital equipment, and Kybella for the submental fat reduction. And then we have acquisition of LifeCell, which got us acellular dermal matrix, and there was an acquisition of Skin Medica way back when, which got us the skincare. This is a physician dispensed in-office treatment. Again, we are looking at a very high-end skincare line for very differentiated for hydration, laxity, and other skin parameters. And then this is my last slide. I want to talk about what we're looking for from an key innovation perspective for Allergan Aesthetics. And I can answer questions on this slide and any other slides after the talk is over. But this is one of my favorite slides, right? So what we're looking for from a toxin, right? So we're looking for novel engineering toxins, right? And what do I mean by that? Trying to find, we have Botox botulinum toxin type A, and we're trying to see if there are any engineered approaches for these toxins, which can help us with the increased duration or early onset. We're trying to find the ways of modulating the neurotransmitter release in selective kind of neuronal population, and then can see if we can go outside the cell and see if there's any effect of this engineered toxin outside the cell, and see if we can affect other parts of the skin, especially from a skin quality perspective. So that's something which you're trying to approach, and then working on delivery mechanisms, gene therapy or nucleic acid mechanisms, or see if their formulation can be modified from a toxin perspective. So that's some of our viewpoint from a toxin perspective, and then from a facial aesthetics perspective, this is where the things are going into the regenerative aspect. So we are going into the regenerative space. We have made acquisitions from a couple of acquisitions in Israel for regenerative medicine, and we are looking at kind of redefining the whole space around versus just lifting and smoothing out and filling the tissue versus regenerative patients or natural tissue is something which we are trying to approach, and also trying to see if kind of the injection devices can be modified with visualizers or other areas from an injection perspective. Plastics and regenerative medicine, we're trying to look into synthetic and biohybrid meshes, sensation restoration, especially after a mastectomy or lumpectomy surgery, and want to address cellulite, skin laxity, dermal thinning. Again, multiple approaches to address highest patient concerns, and also looking at kind of polymer and tissue-based MOA to support remodeling of the skin in a small or large tissue defects. And also looking at the cell and gene therapy supporting regeneration. So there's some opportunities you're seeing kind of from a stem cell approach or from a gene therapy approach, and like I said before, from a nucleic acid delivery approach to see if we can bring in technologies to support regeneration. And from a skincare line, we are looking at kind of skin of color, immunocompromised skin, trying to find the hero ingredient which can be used in multiple areas and multiple modalities. We are kind of powering up our research and innovation in hair growth and hair loss prevention, and also we are trying to see China is a high unmet market, so we have a specific focus on China and trying to grow our aesthetic portfolio in China. So overall, we are working on these areas to make sure that we can grow that market. So